Rockies, we learned something about some, not all, some of the baseball writers that have votes for the Hall of Fame. Coors Field is a bigger deal, has more impact, is more influential on your stats than PEDs. What a load of crap.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 25th day of January in the year 2023. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, great news. You're in the right spot. That's what we do around here is we talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Today's episode of the Locked On Rockies podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. And folks, you can also join us live in the live chat on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. You just got to find us. Just search Locked On Rockies on YouTube, and you're going to go there. And when you subscribe, you can hit the little bell, and you'll know when we go live on the show. In today's show, I wanted to sleep on it. I wanted it to be more calm, and I want to start this podcast off the right way. Because there is things to, before I get ranty, before I get on my soapbox, before I get a little unbearable. For some, Todd Helton's jump to get to where he was in the Hall of Fame race, to be as close as Todd Helton was, wow. This was incredible. I mean, to be totally honest, like if I didn't read the stuff, if the result wasn't so close, and if Spilly didn't tweet out the things that he tweeted, I'd feel so much better about this, because what a bounce back. What a performance. And to get this close, holy smokes. I mean, that should just mean that the signs are pointing up. 2024 is looking good. All things to be encouraged by. All things to be excited by. People recognize Todd Helton, and to only fall 11 votes short after where he was. I mean, this was like a 22% jump, I think he had in percentage points on the ballot this year. My heart was racing when that announcement was going to be. And then when they said the one, you knew it. When they said only one was going in, you knew Todd Helton missed out. And then the results come out. And he's 11 votes short. And I immediately get livid. Honestly. Because here's what we learned yesterday, folks. Here's what the baseball, but not all of them. Let me specify. Not all of them. Here's what certain baseball writers said yesterday with their votes. Well, when they cast their votes, I should say. They said, you know what? Coors Field had a bigger impact on Todd Helton's career, helped him more than steroids helped Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez. What a load of crap. Grade A Greeley horse crap. Those writers with those ballots, terrible takes. And this is the Hall of Fame. This is where people want to be the most gatekeepy of any Hall of Fame in sports, is the Baseball Hall of Fame. And you out there, and I hope this somehow gets to you. I really do. Because guess what? I bet you those writers that voted for Manny Ramirez and A-Rod only, as reported by Spilly on Twitter. Let's go back to the tweet here. Ryan Spilborghs at Spilly Goat. I'm really nervous about Hall of Fame today. I want to see some guys get in, but my blood is boiling. Using the Hall of Fame tracker, which everyone uses, I just counted 15 voters that did not vote for Helton, but voted for A-Rod and Manny. Alex Rodriguez is responsible for one of the largest steroid scandals in baseball. Manny Ramirez is linked to those reports. And you're going to come out with a straight face with a credible baseball writer's Hall of Fame ballot. And you're going to sit there with a straight face with your quality analysis, all your experience, all of your abilities to break down the game. And you're going to say that PEDs had more or less of an impact on the career of those players than Coors Field had on Todd Helton? Joke. Absolute joke. The Coors Field narrative is so blinding to people. It's so much of a smokescreen. It is real. The Coors Field effect is real. Let me make that abundantly clear. But just because the Coors Field effect isn't real doesn't mean there aren't players that overcome it. Doesn't mean there aren't players that take advantage of it. Why are Rockies players not allowed to take advantage of where they play their home games, but the Yankees are, the Reds are? Anyone else in a hitter-friendly ballpark is allowed to take advantage of their ballpark giving them an offensive advantage, but the Colorado Rockies? Why are they being punished for being good at home? It makes zero sense. There are park-adjusted stats that you can go and use that show that these players are elite. Todd Helton is one of the greatest first basemen to play the game of baseball. It does not matter that he played at altitude. The take is lazy. It's obnoxious. It demonstrates that you haven't watched a lick of Rockies baseball in your entire life. Players come to Colorado to compete. It doesn't matter what your narrative of the Rockies is. It doesn't matter what your perception of the Rockies is. There are players that take in tremendous amount of pride in wearing the Colorado Rockies uniform and go out there to be one of the best, if not the best player at their position in the league, in the game. And there have been a multitude of elite Rockies players that have had to deal with an unnecessary amount of crap because people are too lazy to actually watch the Rockies ever play baseball, that they lean on the fact that they play at altitude. But Aaron Judge can hit 62 home runs and it's breaking into the college football games. It's the world. It's the record. BS. Enough. The Rockies do a lot of stuff to earn ire, to earn disrespect, to be flamed by people. But Todd Helton balled. He was elite. And it wasn't just because of Coors Field. 15 writers. Todd Helton was turned down by 15 writers who said that performance-enhancing drugs have less of an impact on someone's career than Coors Field. How does that make sense? How is that something to allow, but Coors Field and being good at your home stadium isn't? Why would a player, exactly right, Nicholas, why would someone come to Colorado to improve their legacy, to improve their skills, to help their offense, to get a new mindset, XYZ reason of why you leave one team and want to come to the Rockies when you're just going to be crapped on because of where you play home games? Yeah, Nolan Arenado sucks, right? Yeah, he's terrible. DJ LeMahieu? Guy can't hit outside of Coors Field. Wait until Trevor Story's healthy, folks. Yeah, Dexter Fowler definitely didn't contribute to any other teams. Yeah, Matt Holliday couldn't do anything once he left Colorado. A joke. I got this mad because of that, because of how close he got and how much the narrative has changed and how much things have gotten better when it comes to actually breaking down and recognizing greatness within the Rockies. But there are still people in this big old gatekeep. I mean, the Baseball Writers Hall of Fame is so hard to get into. It's so gatekeepy. It's a place that Todd Helton and Barry Bonds can't get into because of why does Manny Ramirez and A-Rod get votes and Barry Bonds doesn't? Make any of this make sense? And blank ballots? Blank ballots? Blank ballots? If you turn in a blank ballot, that's your resignation. I'm sorry. There has to be one person, or you should be allowed to write someone in. You cannot turn in a blank ballot. You cannot look at a ballot of 28 baseball players and say not a single one of them is worthy of my vote when there are multiple Hall of Fame candidates on there. Scott Rowland got in. Why didn't Scott Rowland get votes on those blank ballots? Blank ballots. Oh my goodness. You know, but again, it was close. It was, I mean, for the jump is massive, but it is ridiculous how prestigious we take this Hall of Fame, and look at how upset I am. And yet, the people who lock the doors, who guard the doors, who let people in, don't even follow their own standards, or don't even have a set of standards that they want to follow. Let's dive into Todd Helton's numbers, folks. Let's dive into more tweets. Let's dive into reaction of Todd Helton not making the Hall of Fame. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about our brand new sponsor, our new friends here at FanDuel. FanDuel is going to be your spot for the NFL playoffs. We are really, really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America, folks. That is FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Guess what? New customers, you join today and get in on the betting action before the football weekend. They are going to help you get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. All on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So football fans, baseball fans out there, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We are diving into Todd Helton barely missing the Hall of Fame today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, where you can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Why don't you go check out Locked On MLB Prospects for your second listen of the day. Let's dive into the live chat here. We'll also go into Twitter, and we're going to read some more response from people reacting to Todd Helton barely missing out on the Hall of Fame. At Rock's Hot Take says, nothing but truth spitting, Paul. All true Rockies fans are hurting today. A-Rod and Manny votes were nonsensical. I want to put a quick disclaimer on my rant and rave there too in the first one. I am pro PED users in the Hall of Fame. Do A-Rod and Manny Ramirez have a case for the Hall of Fame? Yes. But I'm saying if you vote for them and not Todd Helton, when you're going through your mind process of breaking down the ballot, at one point, You said to yourself, Coors Field, Todd Helton, and was too much for me to buy into his candidacy. Steroids for Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez, not enough for me to disqualify. That's the issue. That's the issue there. It's not voting for Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez. It is voting for them, but leaving Todd Helton off, because I just don't see how you make that decision of PEDs, not a big enough deal to impact these players' career, where this guy played baseball at home did have a bit too much of an impact. That disconnect does not compute. Joel DeGrace says riot time. Joel, no need to riot, because again, the thing that makes it easier to swallow, and again, if I didn't see the close margin and I didn't see this Ryan Spilborghs tweet, I would feel better, because the jump was huge. The wave is there. The support is there. Todd Helton can win over 11 votes. Todd Helton can get that. I mean, it's never over until it's over. And, so of course it is looking optimistic. History says that it looks good. There's a lot of people that might still be on the fence. No need to riot, but there is need to vent. There is need for us to sit here and rant and rave on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Eric Harper says to only honor one player is a big fart. Two players, I suppose. Yeah, it's two technically, but I'm with you. I mean, can you imagine though? Like it's classic baseball, right? Big build-up, Hall of Fame, they do incredible work with it. Those dudes doing the tracker, my. I mean, Cooperstown should honor them. They should get a shrine, because they made the Hall of Fame way more interesting. Now that people can track percentages, and we know, 2 months ago how Todd Helton's looking and what's he looking now, and we can track it all. I mean, those guys deserve to be in there. Put them on the ballot. They should win, no problem. But I think it should be a bigger ceremony. I think more. I mean, I don't know. I mean, baseball's history is long. You're going to have a lot of people in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of really great baseball players. Nicholas Delvo says, I think it's why it's hard to get good players to come to Coors. That's what we were talking about. Yep, the stigma. Let's see. They don't deserve to be able to vote anymore if they leave them blank. It's blank ballots is so tough for me, man. I don't know how you sit there all high and mighty on your armchair quarterback, armchair manager, armchair whatever analysis, and you know the game. These are baseball writers. They should know the game. They know the game more than me. I'm admitting that here. These writers know the game more than I do, 110%. So why is it that you can have this deep knowledge, these, in certain instances, decades of experience watching, following, covering this game? How do you come to that conclusion? Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Joel DeGrace says, I thought my feed was screwed up when I only got the one update. Who got in? I've been salty as heck all day today about it. Yeah, salty is the right word. I think it's appropriate to be salty today. Hopeful, but salty, because that's what that whole first segment was, man. That sucks. To not only be a pro and but then be a good pro, a pro that does contribute at the major league level, that is successful at the major league level, and then to get to this point, to just always be disrespected like that is ridiculous. You're going to go up to Ryan Spilborghs and be like, yeah, it was a joke that you made it to the major leagues as the Rockies. He's a major leaguer. Wynton Bernard is a major leaguer. You think that he hated playing for the Rockies? You think that he thought it was a joke? You think that he thought it was all Coors Field that was helping him? Please. Todd Helton stat for you here from Twitter. Evan Lang says Todd Helton's road OPS is as good as Scott Rowland's career OPS at 855. Tell me more about Coors Field. This is a travesty. Oh, but the Rockies are bad on the road. Todd Helton couldn't. Those home and road splits. Oh, Todd Helton simply couldn't. It's impossible. It's a Rockies baseball player. They left Colorado. They can't be good. It's impossible. Are we mad scientists? What are we doing? It's like just ramming your head into the floor. I mean, you are it's like you're an ostrich or whatever, and your head's just in the sand, and all around you is the history of the Rockies. I cover the league for 30 years, and none of these players are up to snuff. Steroids and Coors Field and none of that stuff. Because I've only actually watched about 5 innings of Rockies baseball in the past 30 years. I watched the slide into home plate. That was pretty cool. And then they just got dominated in the World Series. So I have no interest. And then they did the Nolan Arenado trade. So that's what it all sounds like. Folks, you elected a guy. I mean, I know Scott Rowland wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he worked his way into the Hall of Fame. Todd Helton's road OPS is the same as his career. Hello. Make it make sense. Whew. Man, let's see what else we got here. Bum, 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 bum. Spilly says, I'm pissed. Honestly, for any player that has put on a Rockies uniform, our time playing at Coors Field has been discredited. The best player in franchise history and probably the best player you've ever played with or you've played with can't earn the respect of writers who never watched you play. You can watch and cover baseball for 30 years and still not watch the Rockies. In fact, it happens all the time. They do not care about the Rockies, folks. They did not care about the Rockies going back-to-back playoffs. They did not care about the Rockies unless they played the Dodgers, unless they play the Padres, unless they play in California, unless you play in New York, unless you play in one of those historic teams. Your legacy will be diminished for nothing outside of your power. Todd Helton's loyalty to the Colorado Rockies is being spat upon by these high and mighty baseball writers that didn't spend enough time watching and covering the Rockies. It gets disappointing because, again, there are people that care about this team. I get the question over and over again. Are you actually a Rockies fan? Yes. I have watched over 100 Rockies games the vast majority of my life. It's what I do. We care. You might not care, but I care a heck of a lot about seeing players that I know are great, that I can see are great, that are backed up by their stats, are great. How can you have how can the narrative against you be that you have bad splits between home and the road and then have a higher road OPS than a Hall of Famer's career OPS? And I'm sure Scott Rowland isn't the only Hall of Famer that Todd Helton's road OPS is higher than their career OPS. And I'm sure that's not the only offensive category that Todd Helton has better offensive stats on the road versus people's career. Let's get Todd Helton's road stats. Let's get the road stats. Okay. In his career for Todd Helton, from Fangraphs, Todd Helton batted .285 on the road, struck out 485 times, drew 477 walks. So Todd Helton's only Todd Helton, in his career on the road, struck out, 8 more times than he walked. He had 349 RBIs, 353 runs, 79 home runs, 7 triples, 185 doubles, and that's compared to his 216 at home. That's not a huge difference between those two numbers. Same with this one. 567 singles at home, 521 singles on the road. 936 hits at home, 792 on the road. Folks, players are better at home than they are on the road. That is a true statement. Coors Field didn't make Todd Helton that much better. Todd Helton was that good. That good. Whew. I think I got it out. Maybe. I never truly. But let's wind down the show. Let's look a little bit here at a little bit more of what we got going on. Here's what Spilly has to say here as someone that replied to them, says all offensive. This was someone replying in a thread. All offensive stats were jumped up at Coors. Average, home runs, extra base hits. Field is bigger, but not enough to keep home runs down. He was a really good player, about 287 with 284 home runs if he played in an average stadium. Not Hall of Fame worthy. No way. This guy doesn't like. There's just no way. I'm sorry. Todd Helton was way too good. Only 284 home runs for Todd Helton. If that's gonna be his entire. It plays at a normal place. I don't believe you. I don't believe that Todd Helton hits almost 100 less home runs because he plays in a normal stadium. What happens if he plays in New York? What happens if he plays in Cincinnati? What happens if he hits 300 home runs in San Francisco? That's just some of these takes are crazy. But Ryan Spilly replies, okay, fair. Let's say his offensive stats are inflated at Coors. Let's also discredit that he has more doubles than any first base in MLB history. Do we also ignore that Todd has a higher road OPS than Dave Winfield, George Brett, and Tony Gwynn? The argument against Coors holds light air. Bill James Online writes, Todd Helton's stats is that they are so good, they're disorienting, so people ignore them. It's like when Dick Stewart hit 66 home runs in the minors, but when he said when guys hit 35 in New York, would get all excited about it. But when he hit 66, they didn't know what to do, so they just ignored it. He's a Rockies player. He's Todd Helton. How many people really care? We care. Because this stuff matters and it makes the Rockies more relevant. But again, a reminder, Todd Helton has a higher road OPS than Dave Winfield, George Brett, and Tony Gwynn. Pretty darn good baseball players, if you kind of think about it. Mateo says, join just now the show. Sorry, Paul, could you kindly go with a quick recap? You'll have to, if you want the full extent of the ire, you'll have to go back and listen through. But the short story, to summarize, to put a bow on everything. Yesterday we learned that for 15 baseball writers, performance-enhancing drugs played less of a role in players' career than Coors Field played in Todd Helton's career. We also learned that there are some baseball writers out there, and I think Spilly also counted the blank ballots here. Let's see. Nope. Hold on. I think I need to go. I had it up. Got to go to Nick Groke over here for him from The Athletic. He had the stat for me. 8 blank ballots. 8 writers thought all 28 of those baseball players were not worthy for the prestigious Baseball Writers Hall of Fame. And that's just not the case. So for a handful of baseball writers, they let a bunch of people down. And I think they're letting, in true honesty, they're letting good, honest discussion about greatness in baseball down as well. Because I simply do not know how you draw the conclusion of I have covered and followed this game. I have a knowledge and deep understanding of this game. There are 28 players on this ballot. I leave it blank. Not a single one of them is worthy of my hall. Because it's what the baseball writers think. It's their hall. So, I mean, plays a big role in it too. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can get this show wherever you get podcasts on your favorite streaming service. And if you want to hear the show first, you got to go check out the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel because it's streamed live there. It's the video's up there first before the audio of the podcast is even up. So if you want to hear the show first, YouTube is the place to be. I want to thank the live chat. I want to thank all of our Rockies fans for tuning in. As always, you can be part of the live chat here when we record the episodes live. You can also find your second listen with the Locked On MLB Prospects show and the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Avalanche podcasts. And again, you can find us on Twitter at LO Rockies. You can find me at Paul Holden 33. And folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.